I want to talk about some of the awful kids I've had come into my places of work through the years. I mean, most of the time, I'm not going to say the kids are necessarily bad. It's just they don't have parental supervision. And a lot of the kids that are bad, generally speaking, I have a theory that if they just had a little bit more parental supervision, parents actually, giving a shit, they might have been okay. Because I'd work at places and kids would come in and I just feel like their parents would just be like, all right, touch everything in the store. Touch everything. If it says do not touch, touch it anyway. And make sure your hands are good and dirty so you can get your dirty hands on the product. And if anything looks even close to being able to be climbable, climb it. Climb up it. If it falls, so what, whatever. And if you grab something off the shelf, put it wherever. You get a toy and I told you couldn't have it, leave it in the frozen food section. It'll be okay. Stuff like that. Because one time when I worked at Walmart, these two little girls had a clothing fight in the clothes section, and they cleared out, I don't know what you call them, just like hanger things, the circular ones, the ones that they had in stores that you could hide in as a kid. They cleared them out in 3 minutes. The whole department, nothing was on the shelf. Or nothing was hung up. And the two girls working fabric were just weeping. Because they're like, these two little girls did this in what felt like less than a minute. And they didn't help clean it up. Of course not. And another thing was, at places, parents would just drop their kids off. Just, hey, hang out here while we're in another store or whatever. And most kids are pretty good. For me as a kid, if I was out somewhere, I'm generally going to behave, because not to say all parents were different back then. It's just, for me, getting caught misbehaving in public was going to go a lot worse for you than it did if you got caught at home. You'd get it double, which understandably so. It's one thing to do something embarrassing at home. It's another to do it in a store. Because one time there's a kid at Golfsmith. He came in all the time. And we had bays for hitting. And people abused them. People would go in there. People would live there. And this kid came in most evenings. I guess his mom dropped him off on her way to Target. And the rule was anyone under 15 was supposed to have a parent or guardian. And we're generally pretty lax about it. But this kid would just camp out until the very last minute. And then one time he was there, and 10 minutes before close, he was gone. So I start closing up. I take down the monitor. I unplug it and everything. And then about a few minutes later, I hear somebody hitting. And I think, what's going on? I go back there, and he is plugged back in the monitor. And it's hitting again. And I'm like, man, not to rush you out, but we close in 5 minutes. Maybe take the damn hint. Hey, and leave. And he's like, well, can I just hit one more ball? And he'd been there for over an hour. I said, we're not a driving range. And without missing a beat, this is what he said. Does that mean I can hit another ball? And I had no answer to that. He hit one more, then left, and then he came back again at several points. Another time, this was at the bank. I was adding a lady onto her husband's account, and they had 3 kids, and these kids were just awful. Running around, touching everything, of course, climbing on stuff. And I can live with that as long as they don't try to touch my computer. But of course, they're trying to touch the computer. They're trying to do everything. And then one kid walks up next to me, grabs my cup of water without asking, and takes a drink out of it. Of all the things I've seen, that one was one I just... And did his mother say anything? Of course not. Which, in her defense, which I don't know how you can defend from that, What kid drinks from a stranger's cup of water? There's no telling what could have been in there. And I couldn't believe that. And she didn't say a word to him. Just, whatever, kid, just do whatever you want. So just, if parents would just, when you go to stores, you go to banks, just keep an eye on your kids. I know you're there to conduct business, but just watch them. Tell them, hey, don't touch that. It's really pretty simple. And don't drink out of other people's cups.